In the opening scene, Captain James T. Kirk is meeting with the Teenaxi people to make a treaty between them and their enemies, the Fenopians. Kirk is holding an artifact that he claims is a gift of peace from the Fenopians, but the Teenaxi leader considers this a threat. He rolls down to confront Kirk, where we see that the leader and the rest of his people are small creatures. However, they gang up on Kirk and attack him. Kirk calls for Scotty to beam him back up to the US Enterprise. Kirk records a log, stating that they are now about 3 years into their 5-year mission to explore the ends of the universe. Kirk has become rather bored by this point, and he wonders what else there is to see out there. Kirk is joined by Dr. Leonard McCoy with a bottle of scotch that he took out of Mr. Chekhov's locker. Bones notes that Kirk's birthday is coming up, which Kirk isn't looking forward to since it reminds him of how his father died on the same day, and how Kirk will be a year older than his father when he died. Bones states that Kirk has spent all this time figuring out who his father was in his life, and now he is wondering what it means to be Kirk himself. The crew descends onto Starbase Yorktown to replenish their supplies. Spock and Uhura appear to be going through a rough patch in their relationship. She is ready to hand him back a necklace that he gave her, but he refuses to take it back. Mr. Sulu reunites with his life partner and their daughter. Spock is then called aside by 2 Vulcans ambassadors. He is informed that his older self from the Prime timeline, Ambassador Spock, has died. Meanwhile, a trouble signal is gotten by the organization from an outsider named Kalara, who professes to have been important for a group whose boat experienced a basic glitch. She requests help in safeguarding her group on the furthest side of the cloud. Kirk meets with Commodore Paris to apply for a position as Vice Admiral. He requests that Spock be made captain of the Enterprise in his place. The Enterprise sets off on the rescue mission. As they proceed through the nebula, they approach a Class M planet and are suddenly attacked by a massive cluster of ships that move like a swarm of insects. The swarm quickly causes heavy damage to the Enterprise, the aliens riding the small ships breaching the hull in a matter of minutes. The crew tries fighting back, but their weapons are not strong enough, and when Sulu tries to warp them out of there, Scotty reports that the ship's nacelles have been sheared off by the enemy. The aliens then, at that point, permit their chief, Krall, to board the boat. His officers find the relic that Kirk had before, a bioweapon called the Abraneth. However, when Krall attempts to get his hands on it, he observes that its holder is empty. With the harm to the undertaking basic, Kirk arranges an overall departure. Spock and Bones get in a brake case that heads down to the planet. Krall fights with Kirk, winning the advantage until Uhura isolates the saucer from the designing segment of the boat, taking Krall with her. Kirk then goes with Chekhov and Kalara as they make their departure. As the departure unit is launched out, Kirk watches the undertaking crash to the ground. Meanwhile, Scotty's escape pod nearly flies into a vast canyon, but he jumps out in time. He is cornered in the forest by the planet's savage inhabitants. Before they can attack him, a scavenger named Jayla shows up and fight the savages using her duplicates. Scotty introduces himself to her as an engineer. They agree to work together, with Scotty helping repair something of Jayla's, and she will help him find the rest of the crew. Jayla takes Scotty to her home, which happens to be a long-lost Federation starship, the US Franklin. Spock and Bones have also crash-landed, with Spock impaled by a chunk of metal in his abdomen. Bones manages to pull out the metal and stop the bleeding. The two navigate the area, but they must slow down since Spock is still badly wounded. As they sit down, Spock informs Bones about Ambassador Spock's death. He feels that he must continue carrying out his older self's work on New Vulcan, and he wanted to inform Kirk, but Bones says he probably would not like that. After landing on the planet, Kirk confronts Kalara, thinking she knew what was coming. She defends herself, saying this was to help save her crew. With Chekhov, they rush to find the Abraneth on the saucer. Kalara then turns on Kirk, confirming she led them to a trap and that she was working with Krall the whole time. She finds that the Abraneth is not where Kirk claimed to have left it. Moments later, the three are ambushed by drones. Kirk and Chekhov manage to activate the saucer's thrusters, which lift the saucer high enough until it crashes down hard, killing Kalara. Krall captures Uhura, along with Sulu and the rest of the crew. He and his soldiers take them to his base of operations. It is shown that Krall is able to drain people of their life force to rejuvenate himself, as well as change his appearance. He threatens to kill Sulu for the Abraneth, but an ensign named Sil gives up the weapon, having kept it hidden in the back of her head. He brings Uhura and Sil into a chamber where he demonstrates the use of the weapon. He locks Sil in the chamber and activates the Abraneth, releasing a black cloud that envelopes Sil, causing her to decompose. Krall intends to use this against the Federation. Kirk and Chekhov run into a perimeter trap that Jayla has arranged, encasing them in a crystallized shell. Scotty and Jayla find them, and she breaks them free when Scotty says they are part of his crew. They team up to rescue the rest of the crew. Scotty repairs the Franklin's transporter pad to teleport people onto the ship. They start with Spock and Bones, who are about to be killed by more drones until they are both beamed onto the Franklin. On the computer, they receive a signal on Uhura's location since the necklace Spock gave her is also a tracking device. They see she is with the rest of the crew at Krall's hideout, but Chekhov says they are unable to beam everyone up from there. Kirk figures they need to head in there and come up with their own rescue plan. Jayla wants no part of this since she knows people who go near Krall's camp never come back alive. Her father fought Krall's right-hand man Manas and was killed during her escape. Scotty says she is not alone and can work with the others to save the crew. Kirk creates a diversion with a motorcycle he found on the Franklin while Spock and Bones sneak around to take a number of crew members at a time onto a pad and use a beacon to beam them onto the Franklin. Krall's men attack, leading to Jayla fighting Manas one-on-one. Kirk protects the crew by spreading the crystallizing material to shield them from Krall's army. As the rest of the crew is saved, only Kirk and Jayla remain. Jayla pushes Manas off the pad to his death and jumps to reach Kirk as he activates his beacon, sending them back to the Franklin. Krall and his army fly toward Yorktown so he can activate the Abranath and kill everyone. The Enterprise crew follows. Spock and Bones beam onto a drone ship and figure out that they need to use a distraction to get by the other drones. Scotty uses Jayla's music system to create discordant noise with the Beastie Boys song Sabotage. The drones are obliterated, leaving only Krall's ship plus 2 others. The Franklin manages to stop Krall's ship, causing her to crash into a fountain. The crew goes off to find Krall and make sure he is dead. They find 2 dead bodies drained of their life force. As they continue making their way, they notice a video of the original crew of the Franklin from 100 years back. Uhura spots a familiar face among everyone else. The man she sees is Balthazar Edison, the captain of the Franklin, but he is now Krall. Kirk asks to see Edison's old logs, skipping to the last one to see Edison having become jaded and angry with the Federation after his ship was stranded with no help, following his crew's own series of missions. Edison mentioned discovering a life-sustaining force that he intended to use to keep himself alive. A major in the United Earth Military Assault Command operations, he became disillusioned with the Federation, rejecting its principles of unity and cooperation with former enemies. Now looking slightly more like his former self, Krall takes the Abranath to Yorktown's life support hub, which would allow the black cloud to spread through the entire starbase. Kirk finds Krall and starts fighting him to take the Abranath away from him. Kirk attempts to reason with Krall, but he is no longer the same captain he once was. Kirk's crew attempts to open the doors into space to pull out Krall. Krall activates the Abranath, which starts releasing the black cloud. In any case, Kirk tries not to wind up dead and drives Krall into the way of the cloud. The entryways open and sucks Krall into space with the Abranath, where he is consumed by the cloud and is in this manner broke down. Kirk gets sucked into space also, yet Spock and Bones fly close to the entryways and pull him to somewhere safe. In the aftermath, Commodore Paris closes the unsolved cases of Captain Edison and the US Franklin crew. She offers Kirk the position of Vice Admiral, but he chooses to remain a captain since he chooses to fly. Meanwhile, Spock goes through Ambassador Spock's old materials as he chooses to remain in Starfleet. Among them is a picture of the Enterprise crew in the Prime timeline right before they retired. Bones then brings Kirk to a surprise birthday party with the whole crew there to celebrate. Spock and Uhura reconcile their relationship. Kirk and Scotty pull some strings and get Jayla into Starfleet Academy. The main crew then sees the US Enterprise as being constructed. With that, the crew recites the original Final Frontier monologue as they resume their mission. The film closes with the words in loving memory of Leonard Nimoy, who had passed away in 2015, and for Anton, a dedication to Anton Yelchin, who passed away shortly before the film's premiere in 2016.